Welcome to the Student Organization Financial Documents webinar. During this time, we will review all budgetary documents, policies, and procedures required for processing all budgetary paperwork submitted by the President and/or Treasurer of a student organization. During this webinar, we will review several types of budgetary documentation, as well as policies and procedures for submitting documentation to the Center for Student Development and Campus Activities. Now that your budget has been approved by the Budget Allocation Council, make sure you follow the policies and procedures as outlined in this webinar to ensure all of the events being hosted by the student organizations are successful. Please remember to take notes as your knowledge will be tested at the end. Now let's learn about fiscal responsibility. Every full-time undergraduate student at Pace University, New York City campus pays a student activities fee of $76 per semester. All of the funds are deposited into one account for disbursement to the student organizations on the New York City campus. The funds are dispersed by the Budget Allocation Council, which is comprised of fellow students and serve as a branch of the Student Government Association. The amount of funds available per semester are dependent on the enrollment on the New York City campus. If the funds for the fall semester are unspent, then the funds will roll over into the spring semester. If the spring semester funds are unspent, then the funds will be transferred into a different account identified as the Staff Excess Account. The Excess Account is used for initiatives from the Student Government Association, such as the Opportunity Grant, that allows any student to request for funding for an event they would like to host on campus. This is a diagram that outlines the process of collecting the student activities fee. The arrows demonstrate the next steps for the student organizations that are eligible to receive a student activities budget for the semester and spends the funds in accordance with the student activities fee guidelines. The Budget Allocation Council is comprised of 7 students, including the Executive Treasurer of Student Government Association as the chairperson. The Budget Allocation Council requires the President and Treasurer to attend the Budget Allocation Council training per semester to be fully recognized organization on campus by the Center for Student Development and Campus Activities. During training, they provide student leaders a copy of the Student Activities Fee Guidelines that outlines rules and restrictions on how the student activities fee can be spent by the student organizations. The guidelines are updated on a rolling basis to ensure fairness and consistency. For the student activities fee, student organizations can request 4 types of budgets. The 4 types of budgets are events, promotional, conferences, and carpe diem. The event budget is used by the student organizations to host events on and off campus. The student organizations are required to have a minimum of 3 events per semester, and the budget can include 1 off-campus event. The promotional budget is used for items such as flyers and/or imprinted padfolios, stress balls, and pens. The promotional budget is only guaranteed for new organizations with a maximum of $600. However, the new organizations must submit the budget on OrgSync prior to any purchases being made on behalf of their organization. If an existing organization would like a promotional budget, then the student organization must submit the request each semester. Each organization can request a conference budget per year with a maximum of $5,000. The conference can be hosted off-campus or held on campus. An agency account, also known as a revenue account at OrgSync, does not fall under the student activities fee budgets. The agency account allows students to raise money for their organization. The funds that are raised can roll over from year to year. If there is a new student organization, the Center for Student Development and Campus Activities will request for an agency account for that organization. The student organizations must abide by the deadlines listed in order to process the paperwork being submitted by the President and/or Treasurer of the organization. If the paperwork is submitted within the timelines provided, then the paperwork will process accordingly. If the organizations do not follow the timeline, then the organization will have to postpone the event until the paperwork is submitted. For all budgetary functions of a student organization, the organization must utilize OrgSync. OrgSync is linked to each individual student PACE portal information. If you are unfamiliar on how to utilize OrgSync, then join the financial coordinator at the OrgSync training series being held during Common Hour in Meeting Room A on October 8th, November 3rd, and December 1st. Now let's get into the budget documents. Are you interested in having catering at your event? If so, this slide represents the process. Once your budget is approved, your organization can submit payment requests for the entire semester at one time, even if your space is not approved. All catering payment requests must be submitted at least 3 weeks prior to the event date. If the request is not submitted 3 weeks prior, then the event will be postponed. The organization must submit a payment request with a payment type as event and catering finalization form. Complete all of the required fields and then submit the request. If the request is not fully completed, then the request will be sent back to the requester with information in the comment section about the corrections that will need to be made to the request. Once the request is sent back, the requester should receive a notification and then will have to correct the information and resubmit the request. Once the request is fully completed, then the payment request will be processed accordingly. If the catering request was submitted correctly, then the request is processed by the Financial Graduate Assistant and Financial Coordinator for the Center for Student Development and Campus Activities. Once everything is completed, the Executive Board of the student organization, the Faculty Advisor, and the SEDACA representative will receive a confirmation, also known as the R25 confirmation of the event. The Executive Board should review the confirmation to ensure that all information is correct. If there are any changes or revisions that must be made, then the organization must submit the changes and or revisions at least 5 business days prior to the event. All budget forms must be typed prior to submitting the form on OrgSync or to the Center for Student Development and Campus Activities. For purchase requisitions, the form must be uploaded to the payment request being submitted by the requester. This form is used for promotional items such as imprinted pad folios or pens. This form is also used for items purchased from vendors like Staples, B&H, and John Street Florist. Sometimes, student organizations are interested in using vendors that are not in the Pace University financial systems. For new vendors and speakers, the organization must submit additional paperwork along with the payment request. The organization must submit a vendor update form and a W-9 form. If the organization is unsure whether Pace University has used a vendor before, then the organization can refer to the approved vendor list provided on OrgSync in the Money Management folder. The approved vendor list is updated on a semester basis. Do you want the maximum amount of attendance at your event? If yes, then make sure you have all of the resources to promote your event. One method of promoting is through the printing of flyers at the Pace University Copy Center and posting them on all of the bulletin boards provided in the Pace University buildings. This slide demonstrates the process the student organizations must complete in order to request the printing of flyers. Remember, the request for all flyers must go through the promotional budget, and the promotional budget has a maximum of $600 per semester. For petty cash, the organization must submit a payment request with the payment type as petty cash. The requester must complete the requested fields. The payment request should be submitted the same day the paperwork is being submitted to the Center for Student Development and Campus Activities. Prior to submission, the petty cash request form must be typed and have the appropriate signatories. If not, the paperwork will not be collected and returned back to the individual submitting the paperwork. Petty cash is used for purchases totaling $99.99 or less. However, if the recipient is requesting a reimbursement for luggage bag fees or taxi rides, then the request must complete through the travel and expense reimbursement form. To process the petty cash request, the requester must tape the original receipts to a blank white paper and have a blank or credit card statement if the purchase was made with a bank or credit card. This form is usually used for items such as decorations from Party City. This form takes about 2 weeks to process, and then the recipient will receive an email notification that the paperwork is ready for pickup. Once the paperwork is picked up, then the recipient will take the paperwork to the Office of Student Assistance to receive the cash reimbursement. The special payment form is used for reimbursements totaling over $99.99. This form is also used to make charitable donations to not-for-profit organizations. Prior to submitting the form, the organization must submit a payment request with the payment type as special payment. The payment request should be submitted the same day the paperwork is being submitted to the office. The paperwork must be typed and have the original receipts taped to a blank sheet of paper along with a bank or credit card statement if there is a purchase made with a bank or credit card. Remember, the timeline to process this paperwork is within 4 to 6 weeks. Is your organization approved to attend a conference? If so, then the organization is eligible to request for reimbursements if there is remaining funds available after the registration, hotel, and transportation costs have been accommodated for the students attending the conferences. With the remaining funds, students are eligible to request for reimbursement of taxi rides to and from the airport and the conference site and luggage fees. According to the Student Activities Fee Guidelines, students are ineligible to receive reimbursement for food. Prior to submitting this form, the students must submit a payment request with the payment type as travel request form. The requester should submit the payment request the same day the paperwork is being submitted to the office. The form must have all of the original receipts showing the proof of purchase attached to a blank white sheet of paper. In addition, the recipient must provide the bank or credit card statements if the purchase was made with a bank or credit card. The speaker honorarium is used for speaking engagements such as panel discussions. The event must be longer than 1 hour to qualify the speaker to receive an honorarium of a maximum of $500 or less. Current students, faculty, and staff are ineligible to receive an honorarium. For alumni, the alumni must have graduated at least 5 years prior to the event date. The student organization must submit a payment request with the payment type as contract. Remember, if the organization selects a speaker that has not been at Pace University before, then the organization must submit a vendor update form and a W-9 form. The paperwork takes about 4 to 6 weeks for processing. You are a winner. If your organization is hosting an event with a student being eligible to receive a gift card, then the organization must submit a payment request with the payment type as gift card form. Prior to submitting the payment request, the requester must upload the gift card request form to the payment request. Remember, the gift card request form must be typed prior to the form being uploaded to the payment request. In order for a student to receive a gift card, the student must have a 2.0 GPA and must be a full-time undergraduate student enrolled in at least 12 credits or more. The student organization executive board hosting the event is ineligible to receive a gift card from that event. Once the event occurs, the requester must complete the gift card recipient form and submit the type form to the Center for Student Development and Campus Activities at least 48 hours after the event. The recipient enrollment and GPA will be checked to ensure that they are eligible to receive the gift card. The student will then receive an email notification of the status of their eligibility and a date and time to pick up the gift card if they are eligible. The student must have a Pace University ID with a valid sticker in order to receive the gift card. For additional regulations regarding the gift cards, please refer to the Student Activities Fee Guidelines. Once the conference budget is approved by the Budget Allocation Council, the requester should submit a payment request with the payment type as conference. The requester must type the conference attendees list and upload the list to the payment request. The Center for Student Development and Campus Activities will verify if the students are eligible to attend a conference. The eligibility to attend a conference is that the student must have a 2.0 GPA and a full-time undergraduate student enrolled in at least 12 credits or more. Students are eligible to attend one conference per year paid for by the Student Activities Fee. Each attendee must review and sign the conference commitment letter and waiver liability form. The form must be submitted to the financial coordinator during the conference meeting with all required signatories. During the conference meeting, the financial coordinator will review the conference registration, transportation, and hotel accommodations. Once everything is booked, all of the attendees will receive an email detailing the conference arrangements and the information required upon return. Student organizations can fundraise money to donate to not-for-profit organizations or to have the proceeds deposited into the organization's agency account. For fundraising, the student organizations must submit a typed fundraising packet to the Student Development and Campus Activities Office. Once the requested fundraiser is reviewed and either approved or disapproved, the requester will receive an email notification outlining the status of the fundraiser. If approved, the student organization can use the money from the approved student activities fee event budget to host an event that raises money. However, the student organization cannot request for direct monetary donations from the student activities fee account to a not-for-profit organization. Also, the student activities fee cannot be used to purchase baked goods for a bake sale. Student organizations must use the approved catering provided by the university. The approved caterer is Chartwells. This slide outlines all of the catering policies for the student organizations, including the cancellation of catering for events. Remember, all changes, revisions, and cancellations of catering must occur at least 5 business days prior to the event. For all budgetary paperwork, there are some key rules for each treasurer that they must remember. 1. Every payment and/or reimbursement requires a payment request on OrgSync. 2. All budgetary documents must be typed prior to being submitted to the Center for Student Development and Campus Activities. 3rd, paperwork must be submitted within the time frame specified in this webinar for processing. If not, the event will be postponed. Finally, your fellow students decides the amounts each student organization receives for the student activities fee based on the organization's previous semester at the university. If you have any questions regarding the Student Activities Fee Guidelines, then contact the Budget Allocation Council. For questions related to the submission of budgetary documents, please contact the Center for Student Development and Campus Activities. Thank you for completing the Financial Documents webinar. Now it is your time to test the knowledge. You will have 20 questions, all multiple choice, and you must get at least 18 correct in order to qualify as completing this webinar. Are you ready? If so, let's get started.